Hi there, it's Leslie here. I hope you've already watched the first video in our series of videos on the top 3 lies that you believe that keep you stuck, miserable, and unable to change. Now, if you haven't watched the first one yet, please go back there first so you can learn about lie number 3, which is I'm not doing enough or I have to try harder. That one lie will keep you trapped, bowing to the fear of man and compulsive busyness. In that video, I show you 3 reasons why you have bought into this lie and a number of strategies to begin to move out of it so that you can get unstuck, start to grow, and feel stronger and more stable inside. Thank you for being here to learn about the second lie we believe that keeps us stuck. And I promise you, it'll be well worth your time and your energy. Now, if you didn't watch the first video, let me just introduce myself quickly again and give you a short context of why you should listen to me. But the longer version of my story will be in video 1, so I highly encourage you to go back there to watch it. But I'm Leslie Vernick. I'm a counselor, I'm a speaker, and a relationship coach, as well as the author of 7 books, including the best-selling books, The Emotionally Destructive Relationship and The Emotionally Destructive Marriage. Now today my life is way better than I ever imagined it would be as a kid. I grew up in a broken home when single-parent families were rare, and my mom had a lot of problems. She drank too much and was often abusive, especially toward me. I didn't fit in with my peers, and I was the girl who was picked last for stuff. And I felt small, ugly, and unlovable. My father finally got custody of us when I was 14, and eventually I came to Christ and wanted to serve him and honor him with my life. But inside, I was still stuck in a lot of lies that kept me miserable, depressed, angry, and feeling a bit resentful that my life was so hard and so different from so many of my peers. As an adult, I didn't have a good relationship with my mother. She didn't come to my wedding. She never saw her first grandson be born or when we adopted our daughter from Korea, nor did she ever invite my family to visit her. Even as a Christian counselor, I wasn't sure how to navigate this relationship with my mother in a God-honoring way. Was I supposed to just try harder to forgive and forget even though nothing changed and she was still hurting me with her verbal abuse? And how do you have an adult conversation with someone who keeps tearing you down or even threatening you? But where I got stuck the most was wanting my mother to change. You see, I believed the lie, I don't have enough. I needed more than I had. In other words, I need, with a capital N, my mother to treat me better. I need her to treat me with respect, even to be interested in my life and my family and my kids. After all I've been through, I deserve that, don't I? This lie, I'm not getting enough, or I deserve more, is a huge, huge problem in our culture today. It's called the entitlement culture. Listen to the commercials on television. Most of them end with, "You deserve more." Now, it may be a shock to realize this truth, but you and I are not entitled to anything but perhaps, if you understand scriptures, hell. But because we believe we're entitled, we stay miserable because we're not getting enough. Let me tell you about Sarah. Sarah was always upset about something. But why? Well, most of Sarah's friends didn't support or love her as faithfully as she wished they would. She hated that she wasn't very pretty, she wasn't thin enough, or popular enough. Now her job, it didn't satisfy her, nor did it pay enough. And people there, they weren't very friendly either. Sarah's mom also disappointed her. She described her mom as too busy living her own life to care that her daughter, Sarah, was a single mom and often needed help with her kids. And Sarah's mom wasn't helping enough. Sarah stopped going to church because she didn't get anything out of it, and no one bothered to invite her out anyway, so why go? Now, Sarah wasn't clinically depressed, but she was chronically miserable. If it wasn't one thing, it was another. Nothing was the way she wanted it to be, or the way Sarah thought it should be. Now, perhaps your feelings aren't as extreme as Sarah's, but I think we all can relate. Life does disappoint us at times. Other people don't give us all the love or attention or respect that we want or expect, and as a result, we do feel hurt, angry, disappointed, and sad. We all get stuck in living with this mindset, if only I had more, what? Put it in there, then I'd be happy. Take a minute, fill in the blank yourself. What might you put in? Perhaps you might say, if only I had more money, or maybe I had more time, or more affection, or a better marriage, or a good husband, or a nicer home, or if only I had a mother who cared, then I wouldn't be so miserable. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for making changes when possible and appropriate. But I've discovered in my own life, as well as the lives of people I've worked with, that much of your misery is caused by this internal belief you tell yourself about how things should be, rather than learning to live graciously and contentedly with what actually is. Like Sarah and me, you might tell yourself that your unhappiness is because life or other people are not giving you what you want or need. They're not treating you as they should. And hear me, you might actually be right. But these difficult situations, as real and painful as they are not the true source of your suffering. You see, your misery comes from your storyline about how life should go, what people should do or give you, or what God should do for you. And when they fail to live up to your scripted shoulds for them, you'll get stuck in your misery, never recognizing that the source of your misery is in your own lie. I deserve more. I don't have enough. Now, perhaps you're getting stuck right now thinking, hey, Leslie, what's wrong with wanting your husband to be faithful or wanting your mother to help out? What's wrong with wanting a baby or wanting to be loved? Nothing. There is nothing wrong with you desiring all those things. That's normal. God has put all those desires inside of you. But when you begin to demand those things and begin to believe you deserve them, then you will continue to feel miserable when you don't get everything you believe you deserve. But the truth is, no one gets everything in life that she wants or desires. And when you live as if you deserve people's love and attention all of the time, then you're not living in reality. Now, it is not unreasonable that you want those things, but given your husband or my mother, it may be unrealistic to expect those things. But instead of learning how to handle the inevitable disappointment of not getting all that you want, you just stay miserable. Whether your expectations are unrealistic, unhealthy, or just unmet, you and me will become a miserable person when we believe we're entitled to have more than we have. Instead of being thankful for what we do have, we grumble and complain about what we don't have. One of the antidotes to this lie is developing a practice of gratitude. Even secular psychology is seeing the value of practicing gratitude for what you do have, instead of constantly grumbling about what you don't have. Let's practice it for just a moment. Let your mind just dwell on everything you don't have that you feel you should. A better job, more money, better behaved children, a bigger house, a more loving spouse, a nicer neighborhood, a thinner body, a healthier body. Go for it. Really feel the weight of not getting what you want. How do you feel? Happy? Joyful? Peaceful? Miserable, right? And is that what you want for yourself? Now let's switch gears. What are some things that you're grateful for? Maybe it is your health, or that you have a job. Maybe you're grateful that the sunshine is shining this morning after a week of gray sky, or grateful that you're in less pain today than you were in yesterday. Maybe you're grateful for a good night's sleep or enough food in your refrigerator to feed your family. Now, how do you feel when you let your mind go to what you do have, and you're grateful for it rather than what you don't have and dwelling on that? The Apostle Paul told us that he discovered the secret of being content, whether he had a lot or a little. So what is the secret? Well, it's twofold. First, it's learning to be grateful in all things, not necessarily for all things, but in them. It's switching your mindset from I don't have enough to I have exactly what God wants me to have, and I'm grateful for it. It's letting your mind dwell on the things that are good and right and lovely in your life instead of always looking for what's ugly and wrong and painful. Now, the Apostle Paul, who wrote those words, was no stranger to suffering, and he's not telling you that it's not painful, but he's saying that you will get resentful or miserable if you allow those thoughts to consume you and not yield yourself to God. You see, Paul's second secret to learn to be content is surrendering to God's plan and God's will. It's not getting all your needs and wants and desires fulfilled. It's learning to surrender and letting it go. Your well-being cannot depend on another human being giving you something he or she is incapable or unwilling to give you. Your well-being must be dependent on only God because he knows what you need and loves you completely. Peter writes about this in 2 Peter 1 when he says this, God has given you everything you need to live a godly life. You've received all this by coming to know him, the one who called you to himself by means of his marvelous glory and excellence. And because of his glory and excellence, he's given you great and precious promises. And these promises enable you to share his divine nature and escape the world's corruption caused by human desires. In view of this, make every effort to respond to God's promises and supplement your faith with a generous provision of moral excellence, and moral excellence with knowledge, and knowledge with self-control, and self-control with patient endurance, and patient endurance with godliness, and godliness with brotherly affection, and brotherly affection with love for everyone. And the more he says you grow like this, the more productive and useful you will be in your knowledge of our Lord Jesus Christ. Who doesn't want that? I do, and I know you do too. But Peter goes on to warn us. But those who fail to develop in this way are short-sighted or blind, forgetting that they've been cleansed from their old sin. Remembering who you are a dependent creature. You're also a rebellious sinner. You don't deserve anything, and neither do I, but we've been given so much. We've been redeemed and forgiven. We've been given a new identity, adopted into God's family, and seen as holy. We have an inheritance and a purpose that matters for all of eternity. And if that isn't true, we would be lost, but it is true. And we are grateful and amazed and humble. And when we truly believed that, we wouldn't feel so miserable. We've been given far more than we deserve. And seeing that shifts our mindset, and we begin to see things differently. Now, don't misunderstand me. Wanting things to be different is not wrong if you have the power to change things to be different. But if you don't have the power to change things, you can't change other people, and some things are just not going to change. If you want to stay out of the pit of despair, you need to learn how to surrender these legitimate desires to God's bigger plan. So I'd like to close with a prayer of surrender that I use when I find that I'm not getting what I want, in big ways or little ways. Now, if you stayed to the end of the webinar, you received a copy of this prayer. But if you didn't and want a copy, just email Martha@leslievernick.com and she'll send you one. So this prayer is what I found helpful in the moment, this prayer of surrender. And it goes like this. And you pray it in the moment of your emotional angst. That's when your red flags are flying, that perhaps your desires are out of order, and that you're turning them into demands. I have to have this. Lord, I want whatever it is, fill in the blank with what you desire. I want my mother to love me. I want to get to the airport on time. I want enough money to pay my bills. I'm aware that my body is tense, my heart's gripped with worry, anger, hurt, whatever emotion you're experiencing in the moment, that I'm not going to get what I want. And right now I surrender my desire for control over the situation. I can't control my mother. I can't control my boss. I can't control the weather. I surrender my desire for power over these things to you. I surrender my desire for affirmation and approval. I want everybody to like me, and I want them to value me, and I let go of my desire for these things. I choose to trust you for my value and my worth. Lord, I want my security and comfort. I like those things, and I don't know what's going to happen, but I trust that you love me and are in control, so I surrender that desire, because not my will, but yours be done. In our next video, you're going to learn the #1 lie that keeps you feeling not only miserable, but feeling as if you want to die. And that lie is, I'm not enough. In other words, there's something so wrong with you, something so bad about you that you're unlovable and fundamentally flawed and damaged. Other people can be forgiven, but not you. Other people can be loved, but not you. Other people can be whole, but not you. This lie is huge, and it must be addressed because deep down, so many women are captured by it. So please watch your email box in the next few days. Until next time, God bless.